afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Soccer DFS show. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, joined as usual by my Wisconsin compatriot, Ryan Belongia. We are here to break down DraftKings Saturday, November 23rd, 5-game classic slate. Ryan, we're back after a long international break. Were you in the UEFA Nations League streets? I was not over the past 2 weeks. I've enjoyed the time off, to be honest.
I was in the Nation League streets. Had to get my soccer fix in. Can't really remember how it went. It was up and down. Nice to have Premier League back, though. A couple King of the Pitch contests, and then some big Champions League contests on Tuesday. Yeah, exciting. Nice little slate here. 5-gamer. No Man City, no Liverpool. I think we can be happy about that. Everyone's favorite Arsenal on the slate. So, yeah, we'll try to break it down.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be busy in the next month with soccer. So rotowire.com/soccer trial. You can use all our tools, a lot of midweek slates coming up, a lot of Champions League slates. It's going to be thick and fast in November, and you're going to want to be keeping up with us, and being a subscriber helps us support these shows so we can keep on pumping our pretty good advice, Ryan, to the good people. DFS Chan in the chat saying first, but spelling it wrong. Shout out to DFS Chan. Ryan, let's dig into the slate right away. Arsenal are the biggest favorites. They're at home to Nottingham Forest. Arsenal have looked pretty good at home this year, Ryan. Most of their woes have happened in these red card games. Really tough team to project around because there's so many exceptions. But, even though Forest have been good, they're definitely overperforming a little bit. So the bookies like this as a good spot for Arsenal. Implied goal total sitting just above 2, which is best on the slate. Then we have Aston Villa in what I think is a good matchup against a struggling Crystal Palace team, Ryan. I'll have to double check Crystal Palace team news. Still dealing with a lot of injuries and suspensions. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes from Crystal Palace's side. Villa, not a great team for DFS, but some of their players are getting really cheap, Ryan. So that's something on my radar. I really like the spot for Fulham against Wolverhampton. Fulham have been high-key one of the best DFS teams to attack really high possession style. I think they have the third most floor points. And Wolves is just coming off a performance where it was 30% possession against lowly Southampton. I know Southampton play with the ball, but you got to like Fulham guys in this spot. And then we have two closer matchups. We have Bournemouth hosting Brighton. That should be a really good game between two kind of good top 10 teams. And then you have Everton at home to Brentford, some important players in those games. Again, those are pick'ems with lower totals. Ryan, what stood out to you with the slate? What stood out to me first was that we're going to be playing a lot of like mid-range price players overall. What was hopping off the page when you opened that slate?
I agree with your breakdown. Fulham jumped off the page for me. A great spot for Fulham. I think Arsenal. I agree with the line for Arsenal. I said after they busted last time that they should pretty much never have an implied total above 2. So I think just right at 2 in this spot is perfect. Forest have been really good though. And sometimes we get underwhelming fantasy performances from Arsenal. So I don't think you need to just jam Arsenal in by any means. They do have some good plays. Still should be a pretty good spot. That Bournemouth Brighton game could be back and forth, maybe one to target for tournaments. I think has the highest total, I believe. Probably going to be some goals there. And then, Villa, they try to entice you with the prices. Probably not much floor on those guys, but definitely going to take some chances there for tournaments. Maybe, Morgan Rogers going to be in play for cash games, given that he's all the way down to 4,300. Everton Brentford, might go a little bit overlooked. I don't see many people playing Brentford, even though it's like it's a decent spot against Everton. I think Lindstrom will be popular for Everton, but other than that, people might avoid that game. Interesting slate. I don't know. I don't know if people will all see it the same way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fairly open. The people are going to pick their matchups that they like, and there's a lot of viable plays. I mean, maybe No one there's a lot of good value at midfield, so you can kind of get away with a lot of different constructions that you can justify, especially in GPPs. Skate Paris 2 says in the chat, Brentford has scored 1 goal on the road every single game except for their first game. So perhaps it is not Jordan Pickford season. Jordan Pickford, Ryan, has bailed me out, so I will not stand for disrespect on this program. I'm sort of looking through team news overall, and Ryan, it looks like, we might have had some concerns about Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice's health after the Chelsea game coming off early, but they don't have an injury tag with us, so it seems like those two should be good to go after taking off on international break. Was there any other lineup news that you saw? It looks like we'll get our typical side from Nottingham Forest. Eze has been confirmed out, and Sir Edward Nketiah is out. Wharton is out, so we'll see a lot of minutes for someone like Ismaila Sarr. That'll be pretty interesting. We talked about how cheap Villa were. John McGinn, 3,800. Leon Bailey, 4,700. These guys sub off early, but you're talking about hunting down a cheap goal. And what was one other name? Yeah, Morgan Rogers, potential cheap option in cash. But I'm not seeing that I missed too much. Ryan, let's start with the forward position. Given how balanced we'll be able to go at the midfield position, I think it's a no-brainer to spend up for Bukayo Saka. He's just got a crazy elite open play floor. In the article on the site, I wrote that he's averaging over 3 shots and 3 chances created per game. He's going to have half of the set pieces. My personal projections are projecting Arsenal for 8.5 corners in this game, which is probably a bit rich, but there's good set piece upside in this match as well. Kind of a slam dunk decision, especially that he has no injury concerns. It seems like the question is going to be, what do we do at the second forward? And I think you can justify just about anything, Ryan. I think looking down, Ismaila Sarr and Morgan Rogers are interesting options. Sarr, given the playing time, though there's just risk that Crystal Palace stink. But if Crystal Palace can function, he has a good shot-based floor. Morgan Rogers, a slightly worse floor, but it's going to be a better spot for him. And I saw that he scored a big goal for you on a Sunday slate a couple of weeks ago, Ryan. So maybe you go back to the well there. Reece Nelson at 6,700. We only have a 2-game sample on him, but 2 matches with 82 minutes, and he's looked really good from a floor point of view. And Ryan, I don't want to do it in cash, but in GPP, you could convince me to play $9,000 Matthias Cunha. Not the best matchup for Wolves against Fulham, but Cunha has an excellent role. You can do whatever you want, Ryan. I think Reece Nelson is probably the way to go. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have too much to add. I really like Reece Nelson. I really like the spot for Fulham. Wolves kind of got dominated by Southampton last time out, like you said, and just in general, they're always a good team to target. Yeah, I think Nelson and Fulham have looked really good, but those other guys that you mentioned are cheap. Like Morgan Rogers for 4,300, especially he might play 90 minutes. That's pretty intriguing. And then, yeah, with all of Palace's injuries, 4,800 for Sarr is pretty good too. He's probably going to play 90 minutes or close to it. And, it's not that bad of a spot against Villa. Villa will allow floor points, so I think you can spend down. Like Nelson's not a lock, he's probably going to play 80 minutes, but yeah, he's 2,000 more expensive. But yeah, I'd like to get there if I can. I think it's pretty straightforward. Just going to play Saka for sure. I don't even know who else you would consider. I see Dwight McNeil's back healthy, but with Lindstrom in there, McNeil hasn't had the floor, been taking all the sets. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy to just click Saka.
I agree. I mean, I like Dwight McNeil, but he projected a lot better in my stuff when I could give him 5 set pieces per game. And now I can only give him 2 because I think Jesper Lindstrom's been taking direct free kicks ahead of him too. And when Jesper Lindstrom, he played 88 minutes and 90 minutes in his previous 2 starts. Everton haven't been subbing that much from what I've seen. It just really dilutes Dwight McNeil's value. I mean, he has a decent open play floor, but to pay 9,800 for Dwight McNeil, you need the set piece monopoly, I think. So I'm not gonna. I like to play Dwight McNeil as a contrarian. It's just not the spot without a monopoly, Ryan.
No, now he's like a tournament play instead of a cash play, like he used to be. No one's really gonna play him this week. I agree with the comment. I was gonna mention the Bournemouth guys look really good for tournaments, both of them. I'm just a big fan of Evan Nielsen in general as a player. goal in 3 straight games. Great tournament play. And Kluivert, fan of Kluivert too, actually, as a player. Doesn't have the greatest floor, fouls a lot, gets yellow cards, but he's taking pens. So 4,600 with PKs is just too good. And he scores from open play too.
Yeah, I think I touted Bournemouth big time in this slate before the international break, and just about everyone I said got there in a good way. Alas, I did not play Burns Leno. Shows how it went that I remember. That's fine, a detail. I do like those 2 cheap options. Ryan, I think we covered the cash plays. In tournaments, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is 5,400 against Brentford. Brentford are a team. Everton are projecting pretty good in my stuff, and I think it's because Brentford have had a lot of games with the shocking low amounts of possession. I mean, possession drives the scoring in this DraftKings game. I don't think Everton are that good, but I think there's upside in this spot. So someone I do like in tournaments, I'm going back to the well. I booed you last time. Dominic Calvert-Lewin looks like a name that I'm interested in. And I'll be interested in Fulham forwards as well. The running bit is that Alex Iwobi projects well in my stuff. And at 7,400, he's had some good floor performances, someone who can score a goal. And there's low opportunity cost at the second forward position. So I don't feel as bad playing someone like Iwobi when, it's fine if you want to play Dwight McNeil against me. Maybe I play a couple Dwight McNeil, but there's no clear smash spots. Any names that you like for tournaments?
I like Iwobi. Yeah, I like Iwobi for tournaments. Yeah, your boy DCL. I wasn't necessarily expecting you to bring him up, but it makes sense. Yeah, I think Brentford are a great target, especially when they're on the road. I mean, you can think of it almost similar to Wolves. It's similar to Fulham's spot against Wolves.
Digging into some more like contrarian options, it's been pretty rough for Ollie Watkins. Like, people were captaining him in showdown cash games last year, and like I would talk to you and we'd be like, yeah, that was probably the correct thing to do, but it just hasn't been as good nearly. Like, John Duran's been coming off for him on the bench. We have a 65-minute start, I guess 90 minutes. Sometimes he's getting subbed off early, and he's just not running nearly as good with the assists as well. A talented player, but if you're really down on this Crystal Palace team, you could force in an expensive Ollie Watkins. It's a 5-game slate, so I think you're kind of going to be pretty unique doing that if you're interested in finding a low-owned guy who's scoring a brace overall.
Yeah, I like Watkins for tournaments. Definitely just because the Palace team is really weak with all the injuries. And Martinelli, people are going to play Martinelli for 7,300. What do you think?
I'm more curious what you think, because we're looking at an Arsenal team with some more health. Martin Odegaard, more of an attacking midfielder. That just puts Trossard on the bench, who can kind of play in like a few different areas. It just makes me think that Martinelli is going to be back to his 65 to 70-minute days.
Yeah,
I'd rather look elsewhere, but he could get a brace, I guess. I just don't trust Arsenal enough in these types of spots. Objectively a good play. I probably just might avoid it because I like the other options more for floor and minutes.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like, probably be a little over-owned.
Yeah, it's easy to Arsenal are the biggest favorites, and it's easy to stack Arsenal. Like, Declan Rice is cheap. Like, you can play as many Arsenal guys as you want. And some people play this game by just like, oh, it's the best team, I'm going to stack. They're going to crush Forest. And it's not going to be sneaky getting Martinelli in. So I don't feel like taking on the downside risk when he's going to be like 20% or 15% or something.
How about your boy João Pedro?
I was going to ask you more about what you thought about that match. I mean, Brighton have been pretty good defensively and take on a lot of possession. These are 2 possession-based teams. Bournemouth are one of the most active shooting and crossing teams. Guys like Antoine Semenyo are shooting a lot. Are they low-quality shots? Yes, but the chances created and the shots, they score the same amount of fantasy points if you're like a Tottenham Hotspur legend, Andros Townsend, and hit them into row ZZ or whatever. I kind of want to hit this game. I think Skate Paris 2 has it right. Maybe you just hit the cheaper options in this game rather than spending up a little bit more for a Semenyo. Pedro's a little bit expensive. Maybe Karo Mitoma in the midfield. He's cheaper. It has some contrarian appeal given how crowded that stuff is. It seems like you want to hit this game, Ryan. I mean, how expensive is Danny Welbeck? That's something. I mean, he's been taking great direct free kicks. Talk about one of the informed players in the league this season. If Danny Welbeck
Yeah.
is sub 6K, that's kind of where I would want to attack this game with cheap goals.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I like the game in general. I don't like that Brighton are, healthier all of a sudden. At least all their forwards are back. Minta's back, Pedro's back. They still have Ferguson. Just I know I'm not really confident in the minutes, but I think there's goals in that game. Probably stick to the cheaper guys. Yeah, Miedema only 5.8, same as Welbeck. Yeah, I guess it'll probably keep people off the game, I would guess, just because you don't know which one to pick. The guys you want to play are probably a little bit too expensive. Like you mentioned Semenyo, and Pedro is interesting, though. I don't think people really get to Pedro, and wouldn't surprise me if he plays 90, taking penalties, pretty high floor.
I agree. That would be a name I would maybe click on one team. People aren't going to want to pay up for that. And Joao Pedro usually has pretty good minutes, I think, and the role is quite good. He's got the hipster shot-based floor as well. Honestly, Pedro and Semenyo are kind of similar, but Pedro's got penalties, so sign me up in that sense. But yeah, guys like Simon Adingra are going to get subbed early. Matt O'Reilly probably going to get subbed early. I don't know. Brighton are a team that have played a lot of players. It's tough to get a handle.
I mean, they have
precisely
Ruder.
What's going on?
Ruder was starting every game, and one of the key players actually playing really well. So now, he's going to have to come in at some point. I think Brighton are going to be tough. You're going to see some subs a lot.
And they're going to be good too, which is annoying. So
Yeah,
we're going to be in fixture
annoying.
Congestion, and Brighton are always going to look like a good spot. But we're all probably going to eat some 60-minute spots that we don't want to in the upcoming months. Yep. Pretty comprehensive takedown of the forward position. I mean, the cash pool was tiny, like we said, Ryan. You can spend down on a Rodgers or a Sarr. I think we both agree that we'd like to play Reece Nelson along with Bukayo Saka. So shall we get into the midfield? Midfield is crowded this week. I highlighted 5 players, and it's a little bit difficult to parse through all of them. Martin Odegaard's expensive. He's more of a tournament play. I don't know if I'm going to pay 9,400 or around there for a Martin Odegaard type. And then a lot of players have dual forward eligibility. Where it starts to get fun is when you have 7,500 for Andreas Pereira. I'm projecting, again, 7 corners for Fulham. These are the spots where Andreas absolutely, he gets his 15 cross spots, and they start eating other teams alive by collecting set pieces. Fulham get a lot of set pieces. Wolves concede a lot of set pieces. I don't think Fulham are going to be passing around the box like Manchester City do in some of these matchups. Even though he's been getting subbed early, I think you have to consider it with the amount of set pieces that you can assign to him. It feels like good upside. Maybe more of a tournament play, though, Ryan. I think Marcus Tavernier is a good play at 6,600, but his minutes have been a little fishy lately. I don't necessarily feel like I have to go there in cash. I think people are going to play Jesper Lindstrom at 5,600, the easiest name to click. I don't know what DraftKings has to do to get his price higher, but Lindstrom has half of the set pieces. He's playing over 80 minutes, and he's got a great floor. We like the matchup, so it seems like a no-brainer there. Do you want to pay 6K for a now healthy Declan Rice? Yuri Tielemans at 6,200. I think everyone is going to pick from these 3 guys, and it's going to be frustrating in cash because it's probably important that you get the correct one. If you fade Andreas and he gets 20 points, it might be over because everyone's going to have so much overlap. What do you think, Ryan? Who do you like the most in that group?
Lindstrom and Andreas the most. Lindstrom, like you said, yeah, just a lock, underpriced, been playing close to 90 minutes. You got to project him for something like that here. Just a really good spot. And then Andreas, yeah, some risk there. Definitely could get subbed at 60, but could also play 80. And you're going to be dead when he plays 80. Because, yeah, like you said, I think, he's upside for 10 plus crosses in this spot. Probably gets there quite often. After that, it's tough. Because those other 3, yeah, they could all do it. They're all decent options. Argument for Tielemans, pretty much always plays 90. Really good spot. Might be even a better spot if Palace Palace weren't very good the last game. They have everybody out. I mean, Eze and Wharton are definitely their two most important players. Nketiah is important. Even like someone like, I guess Jefferson Lerma's back. Maybe that helps a little, but like, yeah, it's a good spot for Villa. So I wouldn't mind, someone like Tielemans, but I don't know that I would get there. Like, I don't know if I'd rather play him than Rice. It's kind of similar. Declan has these games where, he's going to look like the best play. And then these games where, I don't know, Arsenal score early and he doesn't get many set pieces and he scores, 6 points or something. That could happen. But it's only 6K, so it can't be a bad play for cash games, I don't think. Probably feel a little safer about it than like a Tavernier. To me, Tavernier would be like the tournament play, I guess, which is weird. But like you said, the minutes haven't been there like they used to be. I don't know that the spot isn't as good as Pereira's spot. So yeah, I would say Tavernier is probably the tournament play.
I'll have to take another look at my projection for Tavernier, but just like on paper, the floor points have been good, a little bit stronger early in the season, so that might be impacting some things.
Yeah.
But he's come off the bench twice. Like, that's just concerning enough that he has 2 games where he's been otherwise healthy but playing from the bench. And then we have like a 63-minute sub here, a 76-minute sub. I'm spooked. It makes me think
maybe he's better than, yeah, there's reason to be spooked, but maybe he's better than Tielemans and Rice. I wouldn't fault anybody for thinking that because, Tavernier is much more likely to score, much more likely to put up a ceiling than Tielemans and Rice for basically the same price. So I think it's kind of a toss-up between those three.
I agree. Ryan, I wrote in my article that I wasn't sure how good Rice's floor would be with the return of Martin Odegaard to the lineup, just because Martin Odegaard's he's one of my favorite players in the league. He's a good defensive player, but he just facilitates a lot of the attacking play. And Arsenal couldn't replace that while he was hurt, and that was a reason why I think they struggled a little bit. Do you think that Odegaard negatively impacts Declan Rice's offensive output, like he's less likely to go forward? Or do you think that he just raises the level of the offense so much that Rice is going to benefit no matter what? Or do you think that I'm reading too much into the tea leaves?
No, I think it's probably the latter. Just that Odegaard being in there raises the overall level of the team. It's tough to know with Odegaard too, because they have games where Odegaard plays really deep and then other games where Odegaard plays further forward. Like, I think, it depends on a lot of things. Like the games where Odegaard's deeper on the right side, then Declan's further forward on the left side. But, it doesn't always happen. It might depend which fullbacks are out there. It might depend, if Thomas Partey's in the midfield or at right back. And yet, so I would just say that they're probably a better team with Odegaard starting. So, maybe more chances created, a couple more set pieces. That's how I would think about it. They're just a better team, so it's probably helps Declan a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Declan's role on corners is going to be secure. Odegaard sometimes take corners. I just think it's going to be split up. Rice and Saka on the corners, and then free kicks will, pick a random number out of a hat, and one of Odegaard, Saka, and Rice will take free kicks. So not really concerned about his role overall. Right, we talked about 5 really good midfield plays, but 3 of them need set pieces to get there. We're talking about 3 guys with questionable open play floors in Yuri Tielemans, Declan Rice, and Andreas Pereira. Mid open play floors. But they're still going to command a lot of ownership because of the set piece role, and set pieces give them a ceiling. But in tournaments, there's going to be opportunity. You have Karu Mitoma at 5,800. Skate Perez just shouted him out in the chat. And how many people are going to get to Mitoma in this matchup, on the road, not a clear favorite? He's a player who I've touted a lot and probably one that I'll try to play again intentionally as well. You have cheap Aston Villa plays. John McGinn is cheap. Leon Bailey is cheap. And then I think there was one name that I was thinking about who was attacking in the midfield spots, but 6K. Oh, geez. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think about alternative options at midfield while I dig out this last name I was looking for?
Was it Smith Rowe?
Thank you. Emil Smith-Rowe. That's your 5% deep shot for large field GPPs. I mean, Smith-Rowe's a guy who can score and assist, and you're playing a good player in a good spot, and the chalk has input fragility in that their projection is based on set pieces. I think it's a reasonable tournament play, Ryan. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. I think you can take chances on Smith-Rowe or Miedema or Kai Havertz for 76. Yeah, because I think those chalky options in the 6K range, like, you don't have to play them. You know, they're not locks for 10 points even. So, yep, I was planning to take, Smith-Rowe's been in great form, scoring, assisting, leverage off of other Fulham guys. Nobody's going to play him. The guy was going to ask you about, can you get to your boy Mbeumo for 10-4 against Everton? I don't think anybody's going there.
No, I've done a real heel turn on Brian Mbeumo. I was singing his praises on the road against Tottenham and getting paid off. It felt amazing. I ran some updates to my projection model, and it does not like Brentford whatsoever. Mbeumo is pay up to be contrarian, and he's not even that clearly good of a play. I think you can do it. I mean, look, I think Brian Mbeumo is super talented. He's just expensive, and I don't like the spots. And people like me are going to say you can't do it. And so that means he's not going to be very owned. You have my permission to try it. I just don't think he projects very well. And I try to play players that project well, Ryan. I'm trying to be more of a donkey that way. And, sue me. Maybe you know better. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, no, I've been off of Mbeumo for longer than most, I think. But just that low ownership, decent matchup. From a game theory point of view, it makes sense. I think you can get there. There's enough value. There's enough cheap guys where you can get there. So I don't mind it, but yeah, probably not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a chance like on a cheap guy, like a Leon Bailey, even for 4.8. One of my nemesis, Leon Bailey.
You always play him.
1 in 10 games, he's an alpha. 9 out of 10, he reverts back. But yeah, I try to hit it sometimes. Again, it's a pretty good spot, I think. Underrated spot against a weakened Palace team.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a Palace team that's going to be starting Jeffrey Schlupp as an attacking midfielder. You got Will Hughes and Chick Decore. Maybe Jefferson Lerma is available for a 75-minute shift. I think he's a good player. That would make a big difference for them, but maybe Crystal Palace's lineup makes you want to hammer that side.
Are they not going to go back to Justin Devaney? Was that his name, or I don't even know his name already. They might. He took the first set piece. I remember.
He did. He did take a set piece.
Remember, we were trying to figure out who's the lefties on Crystal Palace. It was Mitchell. It was Schlupp, and it's this kid. Devaney, he's left-footed also, so yeah, I don't know if he starts. He could, he's got to be better than Will Hughes.
I'll give an unverifiable claim. I gave him one set piece in projection when I tried to figure out how the heck to project this guy whose only stats are like from the U18 Premiership, but his heat map said he took a corner, so I'm like, well, someone's going to have to take corners, so we'll see. I don't know what price Justin Devaney has, but I think I'll pass on. Given how good midfield is,
he's min price, but I mean, I don't think we really need that.
I mean, I guess Jack Hinchell would, but he's questionable now. But he's also near the stone min. I'd rather just give me my boy John McGinn, the Scottish legend. At that point, I'll take his 4 fouls committed.
O'Reilly, how about Matt O'Reilly for 3.2K? Interesting.
That's a name I didn't see yesterday when I was doing this stuff.
Gonna get subbed, but low key, gonna steal the sets from his Stupinian.
That's we'll have to figure that one out. That might be a little bit of a segue. I was gonna lob a needless grenade warning shot at our friend Mo Hendy and ask you about Lewis Cook at 5,900, but
oh man,
I'll save that for Mo.
I can't play Lewis Cook in this spot. He kind of keeps getting there though. But yeah, no, I mean, just 8 shots this season in 11 games.
Wow. Next gen stats. We love it. Now we can go back to our segue. Defender position. I was giving Purvis Estupiñán on a couple corners, not too much of a set piece role. He's going to look good from open play no matter what. He's only 4,800, Ryan. So with or without set pieces, if Matt O'Reilly's going to be an issue, I think Estupiñán is a good play at fullback.
Yeah.
But if people assume he gets set pieces, he might be a little bit over-owned. And there's other interesting names to play at the defender position. You got Kenny Tete and Anthony Robinson. We talked about how good a spot this is for Fulham. Those two guys bomb forward. Tete in particular has been taking a few shots. We love to see that from our fullbacks. And Ryan, it's humiliating for me to be on this program and say that Luka Dean is a great play. But Luka Dean is only 3,900 in this spot. A partial role on set pieces. I can't even disrespect him. I just have to say, unfortunately, that's too cheap, and I'll probably be playing him in cash games as a result. What bounces off the page for you, Ryan, when you look at defenders?
Just absolutely ridiculous, Dina, 3,900. I mean,
we can't fade him. He's going to score 5 points, and we're all going to play him because we have to. We can't even fade him. It's so annoying.
Yeah. I mean, you can, but yeah, maybe not in cash games. I don't know. I would say he's 3,900 for a reason, but the matchup pretty good. Estupiñán, yeah, he might take all the set pieces though. That's the thing, and he might not. I don't think him and O'Reilly have ever played together, but except for the 33 minutes or whatever what did he play against City? I don't even know if they had a set piece in that time, but O'Reilly took set pieces when he was with Celtic, and they're both left-footed, so something's got to give. I guess it's possible they split, but yeah, maybe they will split because I don't see who else would take in that lineup. So yeah, Estupiñán, good play even without sets, like you said. Yeah, Luka Digne for 3,900. You can't fade that for cash games, unfortunately. But other good plays. I think Timber is an underrated play. If he starts at right back, he's only 3,500. I wanted to get your thoughts on Ashley Young, Jack, showing up with like a 15-point floor last time out. Pretty good spot for Everton.
Ryan, don't get me started on Ashley Young. So I'm here grinding these 10 a.m. showdown slates with the 5 other people I play against every week on this stupid website. And I think there was a 1v1, and I opted to play like Iliman Ndiaye instead of Ashley Young. And I got slaughtered as a result. Like I look at halftime and Ashley Young has 10 floor points. Ryan, I'm going to give you a little bit of an inside baseball look here. How we can use the cheat sheet. Ashley Young has been a bully this season against some of these weaker teams. I mean, it's not like Everton are this amazing squad, but at Leicester, 15 points, 9 floor, 1 assist. Crystal Palace, an assist at 9.3 points. So not a great floor overall. And then, okay, he's bad against Newcastle. He barely gets away with it against Fulham. He's got an 8-point floor against Ipswich. Only 4 points against Southampton, but he posts a 13-point floor against West Ham. And I feel like Brentford are similar to some of these teams that he's bullied before. He's a name I'm interested in, Ryan. I think Ashley Young is like actually a play who projects reasonably well. And it's not just like the machine's nonsense, right? Sometimes you make a model and it has to make an opinion on everything. And you're like, okay, well, that's stupid. And you ignore it. I think there's some legit steam to Ashley Young having an okay floor in this spot if you think Everton can maintain possession. I mean, especially for GPPs if game script goes your way. So I'm an Ashley Young guy now too. Luka Dean, Ashley Young, kill me. I mean,
might be Ashley Hakimi in this spot.
Don't say that.
Okay, well, yeah, he's on my radar too.
Ashley Hakimi, oh my god.
Kirkez, I guess, is fine for tournaments. Yeah, that's the pool. Those are the guys I was looking at. Just Digne too cheap. Do whatever you want with him. Might get subbed, might not get subbed. Might take like 8 corners, then you're going to want to have him.
Yeah. Joel Veltman is only 2,700. don't look at his shot and cross numbers. Look at his foul drawn numbers. He's been like getting fouled like 4 times a game, and then he gets some tackles won. That's not exactly the type of upside that gets you a 15-point defender performance from a Veltman. But maybe if the position just doesn't do too terribly well, maybe a Stupinan doesn't get sets and it's a tough game against Bournemouth. And then, Luka Dean gets subbed off at the 60-minute mark because he sucks. And then, maybe you can see the pathway to a cheap defender being all right, depending on what combination of attacking players you need. So,
the guy the one good play that's going to get squeezed is Jedi Robinson, who could end up as the highest scorer in this spot. So I think he makes sense for tournaments too.
I think so. I mean, Jedi Robinson in my stuff projects nearly as well as a Stupinan, and I've given a Stupinan set pieces. So,
or squeezed. Did I say steamed or squeezed? He's going to get squeezed.
You said squeezed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not that expensive. The mini's not hard to come by. I will be playing Jedi Robinson. He's one of my favorite players to play in USA DFS. And you just watched Fulham play. He's bombing up there. I think he shoots a little bit too. He's a player who gets assists, and he's a player who picks up defensive points. Just probably one of the best fullbacks in the league, Ryan. An underrated player overall. So sign me up for a player who can get all sorts of floor points versus a Luka Dean who's mostly losing floor points when he commits fouls and then gets yellow cards. So,
yep.
I can't believe I'm going to play him in cash. I'm already. I read the recap, Ryan. I'm already angry. I'm already going to be like, you didn't have to do it. The money was there, but I played him anyways.
Might not matter if he's like 90%.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're not the place to make a point. Very well taken, Ryan. Let's move on to the goalkeeper position. I had enough money for David Raya in some of my builds. It might be a little bit tough if you want to play Reece Nelson and Andreas Pereira, but you can just play like Mark Flecken at 4,400. That match is nearly a pick 'em against Everton. And it's a spot where, we don't really like Brentford, but if they're soaking up pressure on the road, maybe a few saves as well. So just feels like he's a player who has a couple outs, and he's your DraftKings goalkeeper of the week who's in one of 3 pick 'em matches, but somehow well cheaper than similarly priced options. So I want to play Raya if I can because he's so much better than the other goalkeepers, and the rest of my lineup I think still looks good. But, Flecken would be fine as well. What do you think about goalkeeper?
Yeah, not too much to add. I think you can get to Raya. I like Raya. Flecken underpriced. I don't think Raya is too much better though than like Leno for 600. It's 600 less, and Forest are better than Wolves. So yeah, I don't know. Fulham could be the only team to keep a clean sheet. I just mean, you can have. It's easy to spend up. It's easier to spend up on this slate. So probably have some Raya. Probably have some Leno, some Flecken. Yeah, even some. If I don't play Villa, I don't mind Henderson. I don't really think you need to play Sells, but I don't know. Jack, it's goalkeeper.
I probably don't want to play Sells as much, and I probably don't want to play Henderson as much just because the floors aren't as great for those goalkeepers in that spot. It's just slightly less aggressive teams. Just because the alternatives, like, I don't know, I've filtered by shots on goal conceded per match this season. Brentford conceding 7 shots on goal. That's pretty good for Flecken, especially if it's going to be lower quality shots from Everton. And plus, there's going to be shots from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ryan. So some of these should be an easy game unless they get blasted into, the corner flag or something like this. I guess Wolves are conceding a lot of shots on goal too. So maybe it's Sauce isn't in cash and just collect all the saves.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. Totally agree with all that. I guess the reason that I said Hendo over, like, he at least has a chance to win. Even though I don't like this Palace team, I like the manager a lot. And we see these games where Villa just like do nothing. And, it might be 0-0, come the 80th minute.
Especially if you don't play any Aston Villa players. Maybe you can play Dean on the other side as they're chasing the game.
Right.
That's something I'm not opposed to. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's goalkeeper. It's completely wide open as usual. Thinking about tournament strategy, Ryan, we went through a lot of plays that we like in tournaments, and I think it's just one of these slates where just play a bunch of good plays together and hope it works out. Like I think about a sport like NBA DFS where there's a little less correlation and you're just kind of looking for the one or two players on each team on a slightly larger slate who get there. Plenty of places to draw from in this spot overall. So I'm mostly just going to be playing from the player pool that we mentioned. Like I said, I like about, 8 forwards. I like about 8 midfielders. I like 5 defenders. You could make 100 teams with various combinations of those players. So I plan on sticking mostly to that script and not getting too freaky overall. But like, do you see any game theory considerations here, Ryan? Like, you got to be like, Odegaard at the crowded midfield, go for there, or fade Bukayo Saka for some reason. I don't know anything.
Yeah,
You're thinking.
Those are the game theory moves. I think I'll probably be doing what you're doing, but we've seen like Odegaard win slates like this, or a McNeil or Mbomo or something like that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I like at least 10 cheap guys, so kind of just makes sense to play them with with your favorite plays, with Saka, with good defenders. Yeah, there's just enough cheap guys to take chances on.
I agree. I think if I'm going to play one gross player, because I like the Fulham side, Matthias Cunha would be an option that I might be interested in. A player who can get there on floor, especially if Wolves look a little bit more competent. Anything to increase the pace of that game. So you have a combination of players I like on Fulham who look good. Cunha projects well, even though Wolves don't really project that well as a team. And then you can take the correlation in that spot, I think. So I'll probably try to build a couple, not like my main strategy, a couple teams where I play a contrarian Cunha and then play maybe, a Jedi Robinson along with Reece Nelson on the other side. Something like that might feel good overall. But that's probably my one like game script oriented pick in this one.
Yeah, I mean, second forward is a good place to take a chance.
Yeah, I agree. Any final words for the people, Ryan?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we, what else could we named every single guy we're going to play pretty much, and all the best plays at every position. So I don't really know what else.
Yeah, I think we're too good. Giving away all the alpha for free. Best way to support the program is to become a subscriber. So rotowire.com/soccer trial. Make sure you sub to our YouTube, like, subscribe. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You got DFS Chan, and you got looks like Adam maybe here plugging in comments on my behalf too. And nice to see Skate Perez here as well. Ryan, I think we'll be back for the Champions League. We have a huge slate coming up for that. So hopefully you've been collecting your $25 tickets. There's going to be 10K to first place. That's pretty good for soccer these days. And that should be a fun one. We'll be covering that, and we'll be covering a lot of slates as in the busy festive season. So I can't believe I unironically said season. It's going to be fun. December's my favorite time of the year. I got work on the side, and I just say, no, I'm not going to work. I'm going to build teams. We're going to have fun doing it.
Absolutely. Love December. I think there's games on every single day except 2 for like the next month. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Time to save the lobby, everyone. Play a couple $5 entries, play a couple $10 entries, try to win $1,000. And good luck, everyone. We will see you around.
Good luck, everybody.